What would it feel like to be truly, deeply happy, regardless of your circumstances? Did you know that happiness is a choice and not a result? That you can create your life on purpose? Join us now to learn more. This is the Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. And here's your host, mindset coach, and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott.
Hello and welcome. Welcome. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. You are with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott, mindset and empowerment expert. And today we are on stage 4 of the 5 stages of starting over. So I'm just going to say this really quickly. If you have missed any of these prior 3 recordings, you can find that on inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Go to the, the podcast page, find Time to Rise and Thrive, or find me as the host, Jackie Mott, and it will take you to a page where you can listen to any of the prior shows. So the other 3 stages or any other ones that you might feel inclined to listen to or to watch. It is very exciting. It's exciting for so many reasons. One of the things I've been sharing with you over the last few weeks is that we are doing something called the Starting Over Summit on October 7th. It is coming together. We are in the final stages of getting the website, the registration pages all ready to go, all of the marketing materials, all of that kind of stuff. So it's been a really busy week and also really exciting. We have some amazing speakers that are going to be coming on that live Zoom thing. And we also have several people who wanted to contribute, but we didn't have space on the live. So they're sending in pre-recorded sessions. Now, this is absolutely free of charge. I'm going to be sharing a bit more about that as we go through the show, but wow, the excitement in my world right now. In my segment of the summit, I will be talking about the 5 stages of starting over, right from 1 through to 5. So if you've missed anything and you'd like to see, just register for the summit when we get that out there, and I'll give you information in a minute. Anyway, on Time to Rise and Thrive, we talk about so much stuff. We talk about your subliminal soundtrack and how to get it working for you rather than against you. We talk about seeing your unique value, beauty, and contribution, the contribution that only you can be to this world. I love the energy of that statement. If you've never heard me say that, I'm just going to invite you to sort of just feel that the contribution that you and only you can be to this world. Thank you. Thank you for showing up. Yay. All right. So on today's show, we are talking about stage 4. So stage 4 is something that I call It's Time Moving Forward. This stage is an interesting stage to arrive at. And it is actually, as I was writing my sort of summary this morning of the things that I wanted to share with you on the show, I realized this is sometimes where people get stuck. You know, we've talked about this before on the show and in the other segments. We've talked about how some people can find themselves stuck in these circumstances for 5, 10, 20 years. You know, something happened then and they just never quite get to the place where they can completely move on. So this section, this stage is actually incredibly important. And it's very much dependent on you being purposeful in the decisions that you make for yourself, the choices that you make for yourself. So before we get into the meat of it, I always like to share, because I don't know who's new on the show, I always like to share what I'm talking about when I say subliminal soundtrack. So subliminal soundtrack is my terminology. I've heard people call it internal script and other different things, but subliminal soundtrack is what I call it. And what that is this loop of messages that plays in the back of our heads all day, every day. It is made up of little bits of information that you've collected over the course of your life. So every relationship you've ever been involved with, every conversation you ever had, every lesson you've ever learned, and every experience you have ever had in your life has given you little bits of information that have gotten stored back here. Now, we use that information to create our belief systems about ourselves, our value, our worth, what is possible for us, what is possible for others, what we can create. There's so much. Your belief system is entirely dependent on what is going on back here. And the really great news is that we can change it. So if you find yourself sort of stuck in some circumstances and you're not even quite sure what's causing you to be stuck, you know, that was my experience, was trying to move forward, and couldn't ever quite get there. What I didn't realize was that I had those messages back there that were actually causing me to create the circumstances in my world. So the beautiful news is that we can change it. And the really interesting piece is that what you believe to be true will be true for you, even if it's based on completely incorrect information. So one of the things that I share really quickly is that if I have grown up in a family where February is a really hard month, and that has been my experience growing up, you can bet your bottom dollar that about mid-January, I'm going to be bracing myself, getting ready for February because it's coming. It can't be avoided. So I'm going to be bracing for that February to show up based on the information that I was conditioned with growing up. So what happens if I'm someone who really loves tobogganing or really loves, to skate outdoors, or all of these winter activities that really February is one of the best times of year to do those things? What if I love Valentine's Day? What if so many other things? So that information that I've based my belief system on that's causing me to brace, that information was something that was given to me, but something that doesn't fit for me. Do you understand what I'm saying? It may well have been true by whoever had that thought and imparted that thought on me. By their standards, it may well be true. By my standards, it could be completely incorrect. So that would be a relatively easy one that we could change, but it affects everything: your money, your beliefs about your career, and your how smart you are, how beautiful you feel, how capable you are. All of that kind of stuff is rolled up in this information that's going on. The statistic that I was given was 60 to 80,000 thoughts go through our mind every single day. So I did the math on that because, I'm a math girl. So I did the math on that, and it works out to somewhere in the neighborhood of about 50 per minute. 50 thoughts per minute are going through your head. So what that tells us is that most of those things are happening on an unconscious or subconscious level that we're not aware of. So it's very important for us to get a handle on the stuff that we can shift and can change. If you feel stuck, there's an article or ebook or whatever you call it that I wrote. It's called 5 Steps to Create a Mindset Wired for Success. It's available on jackiemott.com. Go there and click on the link and you'll get the free download. So it gives you some information about how we go about changing that. And of course, if there's something that you need help with, I'm here. And I would love to help you through this kind of stuff, because man, I'll tell you, when I see people hit breakthroughs, it just makes my day. Okay, so how does the subliminal soundtrack relate to this idea of moving forward, letting go, moving forward, all of that kind of stuff? So if you believe that whatever's happened is wrong, if you believe that somebody owes you something, if you believe that, and this one's ouchy, if you believe that you deserved whatever happened, then you may well find yourself getting stuck in this place where you can't move forward because you are so attached to that circumstances, and you are using that information to create your reality. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not an easy thing to understand until you understand it. But once you get it, it is very simple for us to start to shift and change our thought patterns. So we don't want to get stuck. So here's what we're going for. When you believe that you don't deserve those things, when you believe that you are whole and beautiful and a contribution to the world, and that life is still good and there's a whole new life waiting for you on the other side of this, then what you will do sort of automatically even is you start to move in that direction. You start to see and envision what you'd like to create for yourself and then move toward it. Now, I know sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it can be hard to take those steps. I'm going to encourage you that taking baby steps is all that you have to do. Even if you are moving only an inch at a time in the direction of that new life, even if you're only moving an inch at a time, you will get there. All right. So it can take time. Be kind to yourself. Number one, be kind to yourself. Allow yourself to work through whatever it is that you need to work through. Allow yourself to feel the things that you need to feel as you go through these processes, and you will get there. Okay. And of course, if you need help, there's no shame in asking for help. Talk to your tribe, talk to your family, your friends. You find a counselor, find a coach, find someone who can give you some support and help you pull yourself out of this if you find that you're getting stuck and you can't seem to break free. All right. So this stage, I've been thinking a lot about this actually. This stage, there's a bunch of sort of ick, and I like to be fun on the show, but there's some truth that's kind of ick and hard. And I'm not going to hold back on that, because you need to know that if you find yourself in this position where you are required, you need to, get on with your life after a huge loss. It's important for you to get comfortable with being uncomfortable for a little while. I know it's not fun, but here's the thing. Okay. This stage can take a long time sometimes. In my experience, I was not actually able to really embrace this stage completely until after all of the details were settled. So there was this sense of things hanging over my head. There was this sense of no choice. There were things that I was not able to do for myself until the details were settled. So stage 3 was dealing with all of that, the business stuff, the details stuff of going through a divorce or going through the loss of a spouse, or, it really can relate to just about any starting over process. You'll just have to sort of adjust the language to whatever situation you find yourself in. So when we are dealing with a loss, especially when it involves other people, especially when those people are still living and there are things that have to be sorted out before we can completely cut the ties, this is the place where we can get stuck. I want to be really clear, guys, because maybe for you, that's what you'd like. And I have no judgment. I have absolutely no judgment. If you would like to sort of stick in this space of the widow or the divorcee or whatever the case may be and not get on with your life, God bless you. And yeah, just get on with it. But if you are someone like me who has decided that you want something different, you don't want your reality to be built around this one sort of catastrophic event that took place in your life, you are in the right place, because we are talking about all of that as we've gone through this entire, we're at 4 weeks now. We're at 4 weeks. So the last 3 weeks have been stages 1 through 3. Today is 4. Next week is 5. You're in the right place. All right. We're going to talk about the nitty gritty of all of this stuff. So this particular stage, in my humble opinion, is really where we start to disconnect and disengage from the other party. And that is why sometimes there's a need for some time and space. There's a need for a peace. There's a need for us to be able to be free in our healing and free in our expression and free in who and what we are and what we want to create for ourselves. That sometimes cannot happen until we have dealt with the business side of things. So for example, my situation dragged on a whole lot longer than I would have liked. And one of the pieces that could not happen was in Ontario, where I live, the matrimonial home can't be sold. It can't be refinanced. There's nothing you can do until there is a separation agreement, until there is an agreement. So for me, I was actually stuck in this place where I was required to continue making those payments, to continue staying in the space. Now, I love my home and I fully intend to stay here, but there was a difference in the energy when it was because I was required to, as opposed to what I was choosing for my own life. Do you understand? So that's what we're talking about. There's sometimes that energy of I can't move forward quite yet because things aren't quite done, but you can take steps. Okay. You can take steps. Now, always in segment 3 of the show, we always have some like concrete information, some tips, some guidelines, things that you can work on. So make sure that you've got your pen and paper with you so that you can take notes. And next segment, we're going to talk about sort of some of the stuff that can cause us to stay stuck in this space, because we want to get clarity on the things that are holding us back so that we can start to shift our thinking, shift our way of being, and move forward toward that new life that is waiting. It's just waiting right there. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? What if it could be better than you ever dreamed your life could be? Yes. Yes. Okay. So we're going to head to our first break. You are with me on Time to Rise and Thrive. I am your host, Jackie Mott, and we are on Inspired Choices Network. Today, we are talking about the 5 stages of starting over, stage 4, and it's all about it's time to move forward. So stick with us. We'll be back in just a moment.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. Today, we are talking about stage 4 in the 5 stages of starting over. This week, it's about it's time to move forward. So I promised you we were going to talk about some of the stuff that could cause us to get stuck. So get ready, because this is some of that icky stuff. All right. So the first thing that I talked about, and this was, in my experience, this was one of the hardest pieces. I felt very much like I was stuck in limbo. And you know what limbo is, right? It's this space of waiting. It's this space of out of control. Things are happening that are outside of your control. You are waiting for someone else to do the thing that's needed in order to move it forward. And if that other party is not feeling terribly cooperative, or if they're not acting quickly, or whatever the case may be, that's one of those things where we can get stuck and we can get hung up on it, and we can get all kinds of emotional. I'll tell you, there were times when I was incredibly angry, because let's get it done. Let's get it done, right? There's no point in holding on. There's no point in dragging this out. There's just, let's get it done. And that's how I tend to be in my life. So sometimes when I find myself dealing with people who aren't quite as interested in acting quickly, and it's not just in the divorce, it could be anything. Anytime that I'm waiting, right? I don't find that space terribly comfortable. I really like act quick. Let's get it done. Hit it head on, move forward. That's who I am. And that's how I like to be. So I find this limbo place really quite frustrating, really can be a thing that causes me a lot of discomfort. This is where that, waiting on the papers to be sorted, the legal stuff to be sorted, so that I could make a decision about whether or not I wanted to live continue living in my home, or whether I wanted to move, or whether I chose to do something different, all of that kind of stuff, right? So there are like legitimate reasons for us to find ourselves in that limbo place. Now, what I'm going to say to you is that if your stuff is all sorted and you still sort of are finding yourself in this limbo place where you're waiting, maybe you're waiting for an apology, maybe you're waiting to hear from that person, maybe you're waiting for whatever. If you're still there, then I'm going to really encourage you to find someone to take your hand and help you pull out of that space. If everything's said and done and you're still there, that might be a good sign that you're getting stuck. So unless you choose to stay there, reach out for some help, ask for some help. I'm sure that you have people that love you that would be happy to do that for you. So the second of these things that I came up with, these ideas of what can keep, and there might be a whole lot more. So if you're listening to this and you think of something that I haven't mentioned, I would love it if you would comment or, share your thoughts on the subject, even on the Facebook page. You can find me at Jackie Mott, Mindset and Empowerment Expert on Facebook. If you have thoughts, I would love to hear what they are, because, then I can make this all kinds of better when I have the input of other people with these experiences. So continued contact. Now, there are some times where this is absolutely unavoidable. Maybe you're working in a workplace where something has gone wrong between you and another, like a coworker or a manager or something like that. You may still have to engage with them. Maybe it's a family member and things have gone off the rails and there's still Christmas and birthdays and weddings and all of those sorts of things, right? It could be, again, any circumstances, but that continued contact can make it very difficult for us to heal. That's the truth. If you are in a position where there are kids from the marriage that, now there's going to have to be exchanges and parenting, co-parenting and stuff like that, it can be really challenging. Until you can get yourself into this free space. Okay, I'm going to give you a few tips about this. Now, I'm fortunate because in my marriage, we didn't have any children. So when everything's said and done, we will never have to see each other again. I did have a situation with my son's father that dragged on for a number of years. It was really quite difficult. So I have some experience with this. Kids are so important. And it is really, really, really important for us to do our best to create peaceful circumstances with the other adults that are involved in their life, regardless of how you feel. Okay. You don't have to like people, but you do have to honor your children. And that means that you need to behave well when you're working with the other parent, and you need to do your very best to create a good working relationship with them in this co-parenting arena. Okay. It's also important to have some boundaries. Now, I shared on one of the other shows that there was a counselor involved in my circumstance with my son and his father. There was a counselor involved that came to me one day, and we were having a conversation about some of the circumstances that were happening and what I was allowing to happen. I know it's a hard pill to swallow, man. And I thought that I was doing the right thing. Because I didn't want to create those waves for my son. But she said to me, "What do you think you're teaching him by allowing these things to continue? You need to find your mommy power and you need to stand up for yourself, because that's a very important lesson that your child needs to learn." Smart people, man. So boundaries. It's important for us to have these boundaries, especially, if you've got a really great, peaceful relationship with your kid's parent. Wonderful. Maybe this doesn't even have to come into your thoughts or your reality. But if you're someone like me where it was difficult and there was a lot of stuff going on, it was very important for me to set those boundaries. And it was very important for me to stand by those boundaries. So don't engage in the arguing. There were times when her advice, this counselor person's advice, was to say something to the effect of, if that's, if that's how you want to be in this moment, if you want to have an argument, I'm out, and call me back when you're ready to sort of have a calm discussion. Do you see what I'm saying? So have those boundaries and stand by them. And if you're dealing with a really difficult situation, this was a tip that was given to me by one of the family lawyers that I worked with. Write things down. Keep a diary of the things that are going wrong. Keep a diary, because you may need that at some point. So keep a diary of whatever is happening. If you have to have continued contact with the other party and communication is difficult or unkind, it can be very difficult. Remove yourself as much as possible. Do not engage as much as possible, because, one of the things that happens is that sometimes when people are upset with each other, they kind of want to poke. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I'm sure I've done that, and I'm sure you've done that, because it's one of those human nature things. You kind of want to poke, right? Just, hey. So that person may not even realize that they're doing it, number one. And number two, whatever they're doing, whatever's going on, is really none of your business. So do your very best to disengage and stay out of it. Try not to wade right in and actually have that argument. Try not to do that unless it's really important. Let your lawyer do the talking for you. Let your lawyer do the talking. It may cost you some money, but I promise you, if you are in these sorts of circumstances, it is worth every penny for your own mental health. Okay. So let your lawyer do the talking for you. If it is really bad and there is actual harassment going on, then number one, you need to notify your lawyer. You need to keep track of all of it. If you can screenshot, if you can save the messages somehow, keep track of it, notify your lawyer, and they are the right people to handle this. If they advise you to, or if it gets really bad, somebody showing up on your doorstep when they're not supposed to be there, that kind of stuff, then you'll need to call the police. And once again, that mommy power, and I mean, it could be daddy power, because I know that there are women out there that cause some of this upheaval themselves. Okay. So if you're a daddy, same thing. Okay. Find your daddy power. Don't tolerate these things. Don't tolerate them, because what are you teaching your child by allowing those circumstances to take place right in front of you? And the last thing is, if there's harassment, do whatever is necessary. If you feel like you're in danger, if you feel like your children are in danger, it is your job to protect them and to protect yourself. So do whatever is necessary to make that happen. All right. So the last thing that I want to talk about with this, things that keep us stuck, is our own mindset. Our own mindset very often is the source of the trouble. Okay. So you have to remember, it is so important for us to remember this. What we believe to be true will be true for us, even if it's based on completely incorrect information. Let that sink in. Pay attention to that. It is so important. If we continue to define ourselves by outside opinions, this is going to be very difficult. Now, I know that person may have had a really important role in your life. That person's opinion. So in my case, we had been together for 27 years. That person's opinion of who I was, what I was doing, it affected our life together. Where I allowed it to go too far was that I began to define myself based on, did he think I was being a good wife? Did he think that this was a good thing for me to do in my business? Did he think? And the truth of the matter is that this person no longer, whether it was by your choice or theirs, they no longer occupy that role in your life. They have therefore forfeited their right to have an opinion that you pay attention to. Hear that you pay attention to. They're going to have their opinions. They're going to say whatever they say. And one of the things I'll share with you really quickly that helped me to get past that was that the people who matter in my world now knew what had happened. They knew it. They had watched it. They had seen it. They'd seen our relationship for a number of years. They knew what was going on. So those are the people that mattered. Those are the people that mattered. The people who were going to engage and listen to the stories of this other person, they're not in my world. They don't matter. And I truly, if they're going to buy into that kind of stuff, I don't want them in my world anyway. Do you see what I'm saying? I don't want them in my world anyway. So very important for you to get clear, very clear that this person is going to have thoughts and opinions, and those no longer have any power that you don't give them. They are no longer important in your world, nor are they important in you moving forward. All right. So now we are going to go to our second break. When we come back, don't forget, we're going to have some really good, solid, concrete information for you on how to go about doing this thing of moving forward after the trauma, after. All right. So you're moving into your new life. Yes. How does it get any better than that? All right. So you're with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott. Grab that pen and paper, because when we come back, we're going to get into the meat of this stage 4 of the 5 stages of starting over, moving forward. Stick with us. We'll be back in just a minute.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body, and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott. Today we are talking about stage 4 of the 5 stages of starting over. It's time to move forward. So before we get into this, I'm going to give you a moment to go and grab that pen and paper. And I'm just going to share with you the details about the Starting Over Summit. So it is so wonderful to see the response from like brilliant people. Brilliant people are going to be on this call with me. We have Scarlett DeBees, who is an image consultant, and she's funny. I can't wait to see what her topic is for that day. We have two lawyers, Chevelle McPherson and Alexandra Geksky, and both of them are going to be talking about things from a legal perspective. We have, who do we have? We have Wendy Sterling, who is a divorce coach, and we have Dr. Shelley Hipsky. They will all be live with me on the summit. They are all volunteering their time to share these things to help other women or men who are going through these circumstances that we've already lived through. There is another side. There is another side, and that is the thing that we can focus and we can share about, as long as we don't get stuck in this stage 4. So Starting Over Summit, that's actually the website. It should be live over the weekend, www.startingoversummit.com. And I have heard from people all over the world that are actually, they've reached out to me and asked for information on how to register. So if you are one of those people, watch the Facebook page. Remember Jackie Mott, mindset and empowerment expert. Get on the mailing list from jackiemott.com by downloading your free copy of that ebook. Those are the best ways that you're going to find out the information. It will be coming out over the weekend, and next week we're really going to start pushing this out there. So, and bring a friend, man. It is completely free. There is no cost to join us on the live Zoom call. If you want the recordings and you want the extra, I think we've got 10 other speakers who have stepped up and sending in these recordings of their sessions. Absolutely brilliant people. Like I just can't get over it. I can't get over it. It seems a bit surreal and very exciting. So $27, and you'll get the recording of the live event and all of the additional speakers that we couldn't make room for on the live event. How great is that, right? So there you go. That's all the information I have for you right now. But www.startingoversummit.com will be the place to go and register. So check it out over the weekend. It will be live, and bring your friends. Yes. All right. So now, here is where we get into the meat and potatoes of this subject. Are you ready? So the first step in stage 4 is you've got this. You've got this. If you have done this successfully, this disengaging, this disconnecting from your former roles, from your whomever this person is in your world, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a coworker, whether it's a family member, whatever it is, if you have successfully disengaged, then you will already know. You will already know a lot of the things that we're talking about. But this part is where we're talking really about that. You have a 100% success rate, no matter what life has thrown at you. And I know this is a big one. This is really one of those big hurdles. And every other thing that's ever happened, you've survived. How do I know that? Because you're here, because you're still breathing. So you've already been successful at getting through every difficult circumstance that life has ever thrown at you. You've got this. You can get through this. All right. You have within you everything that you need to accomplish that. So this is where we make peace. We make peace with our new circumstances. We make peace with ourselves. And, you know, if it's one of those things where you feel like you deserve an apology, you come to the place where you let that go, because truly it doesn't happen very often. So if you're waiting for that apology, you might be waiting a very, 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 very long time. So it's important for us to release the need for that. You can move forward without it. Forgive yourself, make your peace. And this can be a bit of a process, just so you're aware. It's not, as I've said before, as we're going through this isn't something where it's like, oh, here's my list and check it off and I'm done. I never have to worry about that again. There can be pieces of this that will be coming up later. Okay. So when that happens, just do what you've already done. Tell yourself the things that are important. This is not. And truly, you have a choice. I'm going to share a really juicy secret with you. You have a choice on whether you look at this as a catastrophic event or whether you look at this as the biggest gift that person could have ever given you. Think about that one for a second. Your choice, catastrophe or thank God. Your choice. So the next step. This one is fun. This one is a lot of fun. Okay. I call it getting your sass on. So we are having some fun. We are working. That's one of the best ways, actually, as you're going through the really difficult stuff. That is one of the best self-care things that I can even suggest for you is have some fun. So one of the things you can do is let your tribe know, let your friends, your family, your whomever is in your circle, let people know that you are open to ideas and thoughts and get-togethers, and you're open to whatever it is that you would like to do with them. I think I've already shared that one of the things that happened for me was anytime people knew what was going on, and anytime someone reached out and said, hey, do you want to come for coffee? Do you want to meet me for dinner? Do you want to go mini putt? Do you want to go to a movie? Every time I said yes. It didn't even matter what we were doing. As soon as somebody said, hey, do you want to? I'm like, yes. Do you see what I'm saying? Get out of the house as much as you can, especially if you're still living in the matrimonial home, because there's an adjustment period that has to happen for it to shift from our home to my home. There is an adjustment that has to happen for you to get in that new space. So for me, it took a lot of stuff. It took getting out as much as possible. It took having fun with my friends, laughing as much as I could, being silly. I took belly dancing lessons. There was all kinds of stuff that I did in that first year that was specifically targeted to get me out of the space of this is hard. Okay. It was specific, and I did it very much on purpose. So getting your sass back on can be the thing that you really need to do in order to help you break free. You need to start to look at yourself as an individual, no longer as a part of a couple. You need to start to define who you are, and not based on who you were in that role. You can decide, who do you get to be? Whatever you want to be. You get to be whatever you want to be. So do you want to go out and dye your hair and I don't know, take classes, exercise, whatever you want to do, that is now up to you. I traveled. I got some new clothes that made me feel sassy and sexy. This is actually one piece of it. Sassy and sexy clothes. I cut my hair off and, like all kinds of stuff. And I really redefined who Jackie was. I also went back to my maiden name, Jackie Mott. So no longer tied to that relationship or those circumstances. Do what you need to do to break those ties. Self-affirmations. So this is where we're really talking about that subliminal mindset, subliminal soundtrack stuff. Anybody who comes into my space understands I have stuff all over the place. I've got one right there that says grateful, work hard, be kind, and amazing things will happen. Every little thing is going to be all right. These little posters and pictures and plaques and stuff are all over my space. And I did that very much on purpose, because I needed to remember that. How did I get into a positive frame of mind? By surrounding myself with positive frames of mind. There's one in my bathroom downstairs that's hung on the mirror, and it says, we are not given a good life or a bad life. We are given a life, and it's up to us to make it good or bad. You have the choice. You always have a choice, even if it seems like maybe you don't right now. You always have a choice. And what goes on in between these ears is always up to you. If you need help with that, find someone who can help you. Find a coach, find a counselor, find a program, read a book, whatever it is. Find something or someone that can help you to get control of the stuff, because the monkey chatter, it'll take you completely off course and it will not help you. So find someone to help if you need it, but get that monkey chatter to shut up so that you can focus on moving forward. You could also get an accountability buddy. Now, accountability buddies don't work terribly well for me, because I'm a little bit stubborn and I'm pretty good at motivating myself. But for a lot of people, an accountability buddy. So maybe you have a friend that you can check in once a week or every couple of days or whatever, and you can just be like, okay, so I'm doing well or I'm not. Maybe you can find that person who will take that role for you. This one is very important. I want you to soak in this, okay? Be proud of you. Be proud of you. You have already survived the worst of it. By the time you get to this stage, the worst of it is pretty much over. You've survived. Give yourself a pat on the back. Have a party. Get yourself a new outfit or whatever is going to work for you, but walk in that, own that. When you sway your hips, honey, own it. You have already made it through the hardest part. Now it's just that last little hurdle before you get to that new life that is waiting for you. And I'm going to share with you one of the things that I created really early on. I don't even remember exactly which year it was that I created this, but there was a program that 30 days to fall in love with you, because I had to fall in love with myself. I had counted on that person to define me, to see my beauty, to see my worthiness, to see all of that. I looked to him. That was a mistake. So I have a program. It's called 30 Days to Fall in Love with You. It's fun. It's a bit easy. It's a bit, but I promise you 30 days is all it takes. We have Monday to Friday. It's on Facebook. There's a private Facebook group, I should say that. So Monday to Friday, I post different exercises for each day. The weekend is meant to be sort of journaling and thought on some of those things that you've been working on throughout the course of the week. There will be lives that you would be invited to join with me. $97, worth every penny. And there's a support system right within the group, because the other people that are there are also working on, whether or not they're working through the same circumstances is completely irrelevant. They are working on this, like, I need to see my value. I know that I need to see my value and my beauty. So if that's at all of interest, Jackie Mott, Mindset and Empowerment Expert on Facebook, send me a message. My intention is that after the summit in October, I'm going to start this group November 1st. So November will be the month. And if you're at all interested in the VIP, this is going to be a gift that I'm going to give to the VIPs. $97 value. Join me for the month and we'll see what happens. I bet we can create some really yummy, juicy stuff for you. Oh my God, it's fun. All right. So that is what I've got for our concrete stuff. When we come back from our last break, we're going to wrap up today's conversation about stage 4. It's time to move forward. So I'm Jackie Mott, Mindset and Empowerment Expert. You're with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. Stick with us for just a moment and we will be back to end this conversation on a high note.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body, and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to the final segment of today's show. You're with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network, and I am your host, Jackie Mott. Today we are talking about stage 4. Stage 4 is it's time to move forward. Now, I went a little bit long in our last segment, so we've only got a few minutes left here, so I'm going to get you a last little bit of things to consider. One of my friends and I were talking recently, and we were talking about this healing process. So true healing, really, when we get to a place where we are truly healed from the circumstance, the fact of the matter is that most of what happened, even the person or the people that were involved, really don't matter all that much to us anymore. Do you see what I'm saying? There's not a whole lot. And maybe don't matter is bad language to say this, but there's not that charge. There's not that tie. There's not that, 0 to pissed right off in 30 seconds flat. It no longer exists. Okay. It no longer exists because the power of whatever is gone. You are so healed. You are so whole. You are so focused on moving forward in your life. You don't have space for that anymore. So that's what we're working toward achieving, is the true deep healing. Do your very best whenever possible, especially if you have to continue engaging with the other party, to keep hurt feelings or anger out of it. When we function from those places, we can actually create the circumstances that cause things to stay stuck and drag out. We can even create that limbo for ourselves. So do your best to be cooperative and as easy to deal with as you possibly can. Okay. If you're in that position, unless there are reasons like we talked about, in which case use the resources that are available, your lawyer, police, whatever you need to use to get through that kind of stuff. Now, this last thing is what I want to leave you with. I'm sorry. Keep your head held high. There can be shame that comes from these sorts of circumstances, and you have a choice whether or not to pick that up. Your choice. So keep your head held high. You deserve wonderful things in your life. You are beautiful. You are strong. You are potent. You are amazing. You are a contribution to everybody in your world. Hold on to that. Keep your head held high and focus. Eyes front, moving forward. That's what I've got for you today, my friends. So I wrote a quick quote that I want to leave you with. It's imperative that we break the connections with our former friend, spouse, partner, whatever it is, as soon as we can, and to continue to do this as things come up over time, because some of these take time to actually surface and show themselves. Remember, they have no place in your future, and what they think no longer matters. Let that go and focus on yourself and the beautiful future that's just waiting for you. Yay. All right, my friends, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be back next Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central, 11 something. You know what your time zone is. You can figure that out. You're smart. You're smart because you're here. Okay. So figure out your time zone. Join me live if you'd like. Again, go to inspiredchoicesnetwork.com and you can find any of the prior podcast recordings by going to Time to Rise and Thrive, or by finding me as the host, Jackie Mott. Next week we're going to be talking about stage 5, and stage 5 is that final phase of jump into your new life. Yay. All right. More information about the programs, how to work with me, how to contact me, you can go to jackiemott.com. You can find me on Facebook, Jackie Mott, Mindset and Empowerment Expert. You can also, if you find yourself in crisis and you really need to talk, you can go to www.bookacallwithjackie.com and schedule a time to get on a Zoom call or a phone call with me for a few minutes, and we'll see what we can do to help you get out of that space. So thank you again so much for being with me on Time to Rise and Thrive today. I love doing the show. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your energy and the contribution that you are to me. And I appreciate the comments. I've had some amazing comments on some of the podcast links. So please share. If there's something that you feel inclined to share with me, I love it. Or send me a private message on Facebook. Love to hear that feedback. Thank you again. And we will see you next week. Have a wonderful week, my friends.
Thank you for joining us for Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. Jackie Mott will return next Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Have a fantastic week, and remember, it's your time to rise and thrive.